Well, hello everyone. My name is Zachary O'Shea, and this is Box of Teeth. It's also just another Mimic Monday, which means I have a Mimic to give to all of you for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Every Just Another Mimic Monday, I reach deep into that box of teeth and produce a homebrew Mimic for all of you for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They're always horrific and sometimes a little bit silly, and this one really straddles that line, depending on how you play it. So let's go ahead and cover the Parasol Mimic right now. They seemed an easy enough target, this villain with more style than sense. They were well known for carrying an umbrella anywhere in case the weather changed, but never a sword. And this really should have been your first clue that something was wrong. So when the blades were pulled and the spells were readied, well, that shade snapped right open and deflected your alpha blow. Tentacles spread from underneath its hood just like a jellyfish, wrapped around the wizard, stunned them, held them tight, and there went their head. And then the villain just simply floated off on his monstrous accessory without a care in the world and only a salute. Better luck next time, I suppose. The Parasol Mimic, it's an odd bit of a creature. It prefers the shape of an umbrella, and for a Mimic, that's really not too weird. On top of that, it can predict the weather, shrug off cold rain, tug its owner or meal off into the sky, and this is more than an average Mimic can do, of course, which does point to maybe some arcane manipulation, but it's not really that strange. However, the Mimic also finds a strange kinship to jellyfish because in its preferred form, with its tendrils extended, it reminds himself of one of those seaborne horrors. To that end, it's blended many of its jellyfish's traits into its own. Not only can it fly, but it can also swim. Its tentacles not only latch onto targets, but also spread a contact poison that can, well, poison and perhaps even paralyze them. Given this unique blend of abilities, being able to also pull people along with it and defend them as well, there are more than a few posh members of society that find it a perfect companion and bodyguard. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the Parasol Mimic statistics for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The Parasol Mimic is a challenge rating 3, neutral, small monstrosity. Like any other Mimic, it does have Shape Changer, Adhesive, False Appearance, and Grappler, but it can only change into like a parasol or an umbrella. It also has resistance to cold because, well, rain is relatively cold as well. It has a hover fly speed as well as a swim speed. On top of that all, it does have amphibious, so it can breathe both air and water. It does have popping off, so anytime it flies or it swims, any medium-sized creature that is grappled by it is also moved along with it with no sort of speed penalty. It also has weather vane, so if it spends at least 1 minute outside studying said weather, it knows the weather with a reasonable amount of accuracy for the next 8 hours. It can make 2 pseudopod attacks per round that do hit pretty hard, but on top of that, they have a contact poison that is relatively mild DC-wise that can poison a target, but if that target fails at save by 5 or more, it's paralyzed for the duration instead. Of course, it gets to repeat the save at the end of each of its turns to stop being poisoned or paralyzed. It also has bite, as any Mimic would. Snap, snap, after all, and take that wizard's head. It also has a reaction called Throwing Shade, so it can spread out its natural armor to protect one of its allies that within 5 feet, as said reaction that lasts until the beginning of the Mimic's next turn. I hope you enjoyed the Parasol Mimic today. You can find it and hundreds of other Mimics, along with hundreds more horror-themed monsters, all for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They're all perfectly free at boxofteeth.blogspot.com. If you're more interested in the horror-themed role-playing projects that I have that are not Dungeons & Dragons, or the horror fiction that I write, that includes Grease Paint right here. Book 2 should be out hopefully sometime this summer. You can always go to www.zacharyoshea.com. Again, as always, I want to thank you all for your time and your attention, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week ahead of you.